Hello everyone, welcome to Africa TV, located at Obokun Avenue, Elisha, Osun State. So this is your program, Echoes of Inspiration, where we use storytelling to inspire you. And I am your host, Rebecca Olatunji. So I would like to appreciate the producer of this program, the person of Afolabi Adenipekun, and the chief executive producer, the person of Dikin Michael Adeboye Ashaolu. So let's dive into the storytelling. We've been looking at unspoken love for a few weeks. So let's look more into ADANNA's journey and Gideon. Let's see how this unspoken love keep on bonding them together. So come with us as we dive into this. University life was everything Gideon had imagined and more. A whirlwind of new experiences, challenges, and opportunities. His days were filled with lectures, study sections, and late nights in the library. Every moment dedicated to building the future he and his mother had dreamed of. Yet, in the midst of it all, he couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that he was leaving something behind. At first, he tried to keep in touch with ADANNA regularly, sending letters whenever he could, and saving part of his student allowance to send back home. Each letter was filled with updates and reassurances, words meant to bridge the miles that now separated them. But as the weeks turned into months, the demand of university life began to press on him more heavily. Assignments piled up, exams loomed, and the social pressures of campus life pulled him in every direction. Friends invited him to join study group and outings. Professors encouraged him to participate in extracurricular activities, and the excitement of being in a new environment made him feel alive in a way he hadn't before. He felt a rush of ambition, a hunger to succeed that he hadn't known existed within him. As Gideon became more immersed in his studies, the letter he sent to ADANNA grew less frequent. The course became shorter, more hurried as he found himself with less time and energy. Each time he spoke to her, he reassured her that he was doing well, that he was studying hard and making progress. But deep down, he knew he was failing her in a way he couldn't quite explain. Back in the small town, ADANNA clung to every word he sent, treasuring each letter as though it were a lifeline. She read and reread them, her heart swelling with pride as she imagined her son thriving in the world she had never been able to reach. Yet, as the letter grew scarce, a deep sadness settled over her. She tried to remind herself that he was busy, that he was working hard to build a life they had both dreamed of. But the silence was harder to bear than she had anticipated. Her health, which had already been fragile, began to deteriorate further. She felt the ache in her bones more acutely, her energy fading as loneliness settled over her like a heavy blanket. Nights were the hardest, the quiet hours stretching on as she lay awake, wondering if her son would remember to call, if he would remember the promises he had made. The neighbors noticed the change in ADANNA, the way her once lively spirit seemed dulled, her strength waning. They offered to help, bringing her meals and checking on her, but ADANNA's pride wouldn't allow her to accept much. She insisted that she was fine, that her son would be back soon, that he hadn't forgotten her. But with each passing day, her hope grew thinner, like a thread stretching too far. One evening, as she sat alone in the dim light of their small home, ADANNA reached for a piece of paper and began to write. Her hands shook as she put pen to paper, her words simple but filled with emotion. My beloved son, I am so proud of you, more than words can say. I know you are busy and I know you are working hard for both of us. But I miss you, Gideon. I miss hearing your voice, seeing your face. You are the light of my life, and I pray for you every day. Please don't forget your mother. She folded the letter carefully, addressing it with trembling hands. The next day, she walked to the post office, her frail body moving slowly but purposefully. she was as the letter disappeared into the slot, her heart heavy with both hope and sorrow. The letter arrived at Gideon's dawn a few days later, but he was in the midst of exam preparation, his mind entirely focused on his study. It lay on his desk, unopened, as he pored over textbooks and notes, determined to succeed. Each time he noticed it, he told himself he would read it later, that he would call her after the exams, but later become an endless cycle each day, pulling him further from the promises he had made. Meanwhile, ADANNA continued to wait. She left messages with neighbors who could contact him, hoping he would call. She stayed by the phone, her heart leaping each time. It rang only to feel the weight of disappointment when it wasn't him. The silence grew louder, an ache that filled every corner of her life, even as she tried to reassure herself that he was simply busy. Concerned neighbors began to visit more frequently, bringing food and offering companionship. But ADANNA's thoughts remained fixed on Gideon, her son, who had once been her entire world. She kept up a brave face, smiling through the pain, even as her strength faded with each passing day. One evening, a particular kind neighbor named Mama Ebele stopped by, bringing a pot of soup and a warm smile. "ADANNA, you don't have to go through this alone," she said gently. "We are here for you. Let us help." ADANNA smiled weakly, her heart aching with gratitude for the kindness of her neighbors. "Thank you, Mama Ebele. I am blessed to have such good friends. But I know Gideon will come back soon. He is a good son. He won't forget his mother." But deep down, a quiet fear gnawed at her, a fear she couldn't bring herself to voice. What if Gideon had moved on? What if he no longer needed her? The thought was so painful to bear, and she pushed it away, clinging to the hope that he would return. As the exam season came to an end, Gideon finally found a moment to breathe. He glanced at his desk, his gaze falling on the unopened letter from his mother. Guilt washed over him as he picked it up, feeling the weight of the word he hadn't yet read. Slowly, he opened it, his heart pounding as he took in the familiar handwriting, the gentle words that spoke of love and longing. With each line, the reality of his neglect sank in the guilt, pressing down on him like a heavy burden. How could he have let this happen? How could he have forgotten the woman who had given everything for him? He dialed ADANNA's number, his hand shaking as he waited for her to answer. But the phone rang unanswered. The silence on the other hand left a painful reminder of the distance he had created. He tried calling again. Each unanswered ring drove the guilt deeper into his heart. Desperately, he reached out to one of the neighbors, a woman who had always looked out for his mother. "Mama Ebele, it's Gideon. Is my mother? Is she alright?" There was a pause, a heavy silence that made his heart race. "Gideon, your mother, she has been waiting for you. She is not well. My boy, you need to come home." The word hit him like a blow, the reality of his choices crashing down on him. He had been so focused on his own life, his own ambitions, that he had forgotten the woman who had made it all possible. And now, he was faced with the consequences of his neglect, the realization that he had left her alone when she needed him most. So this is the end of episode 5. And the keyword for this episode is regret. In this episode, the theme of regret emerged strongly as Gideon realizes the impact of his neglect. His ambitions had led him to forget the one person who has sacrificed everything for him. So, we've seen the end of this episode. Let's anticipate for the next episode. Will Gideon return bringing healing, or has he damaged too much beyond repair on ADANNA? So, come with us next time and anticipate the next episode. I remain your host, Rebecca Olatunji, and this is Africa TV. Stay tuned, like and share. Thank you.